Okay, help me out here. I want you to close your eyes. Come on, I said close them tight. Are they closed? All right, when I say the word train, what picture pops into your mind? It's probably either an old-time locomotive or a sleek train of today. Well, here at the Henry Ford, you have the whole history of trains, and some don't look anything like what you're picturing in your head right now. Okay, open your eyes now, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to see the segment. America wouldn't be what it is today without trains. They're a critical part of our history. Trains were made in all shapes and sizes, and a few of them were tricked out for special occasions. Lucky for us, Henry Ford loved trains, especially the power of old steam locomotives. And Ford had the means to collect and refurbish many of these iconic iron horses. Bullet trains that can travel over 250 miles per hour are cutting edge today. But in the 19th century, steam locomotives were very high-tech. The Henry Ford's chief curator, Mark Gruther, showed me one. All aboard! A replica of an English steam locomotive called the Rocket.
It's generally regarded as not the very first locomotive, but it's one of the very earliest locomotives to kind of demonstrate the way you would lay out a locomotive in terms of its boiler, in terms of the working parts. This is nothing more than the cylinder, piston rod, a crosshead here, and a connecting rod. So this is what essentially converts back and forth motion into the rotary motion that allows the locomotive to move forward, pull a train along.
Adopting English steam locomotives for use in the United States required adjustments to meet the demands of heavy payloads and the rugged terrain of the American frontier. This led to the design of something like this pre-Civil War locomotive called the Sam Hill. With its large stack and decorative fixtures, it later became known as the President. But more about that in a second. Why was it called the Sam Hill?
The story is that Sam Hill was an engineer that Henry Ford knew on the Michigan Central Railroad, which runs right behind the museum. This was high tech, so whoever was in here in the cab, the engineer, that was a highly visible, highly respected trade. So Sam Hill's more like a rock star, not just some guy you knew.
The Sam Hill was used to pull the very first passenger train into the Henry Ford's Greenfield Village back in 1929. The train carried distinguished guests, including Mr. and Mrs. Ford, Thomas Edison, and one other VIP.
Herbert Hoover is on that train, along with Edison and Ford. So in honor of that occasion, it gets renamed the President. So it's the Sam Hill and it's the President.
Next, Mark took me from beauty to the beast. And this thing is a beast. Whoa, wait. We're talking about trains and suddenly you're showing me an ocean liner.
I'd never really thought of it as an ocean liner, but you're right. It does have that kind of sharp-edged look about it. Now, this is a very fundamental piece of railroad equipment because this is a snowplow.
This is a snowplow?
It's a snowplow.
For a giant driveway. This intimidating piece of machinery is not a locomotive. It doesn't have its own engine, rather it was pushed by one or more locomotives at a high rate of speed on railroad tracks, Western mountain states and Canada. And the shape of it, it makes sense to cut through all that.
Right, it cuts through and it's also designed to make that snow go off to the side. There's pieces in the base there to remove ice and snow from between the tracks. There's wings that come out on the side so you can plow a wider swath than you would with just the car itself.
If I only had access to this when I was growing up, the money I would have made on snow days.
It would have been fast, wouldn't it? Absolutely fast and lucrative.